Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca, and this is a review I've been asked to do quite a few times, so here it is. This is my review on the Simply Piano app, but more specifically on the new Chords Path option in Simply Piano. The Simply Piano app actually gives you two options for how you want to learn piano. A more traditional approach they call soloist that teaches you how to sight read sheet music, and that approach is probably best for learning how to play classical music. And Simply Piano's new chords approach, which doesn't completely eliminate the need to sight read sheet music, but it does minimize it. The chords approach is best for learning, in my opinion, how to play modern music, and you will progress much faster with this approach. Note that you can do both options if you like. You can do one then the other, or bounce back and forth, etc. Now, if you follow my channel, you probably already know that I learned how to play piano from online courses, not from an app, and that the online courses I took all taught piano with a chord-based approach. And with those courses, there was zero need to sight read sheet music, so as a result, my sight reading abilities are close to zero, and that actually hasn't been the slightest issue for me, and I've been playing live gigs with bands for a couple of years now. Funny story, actually. Back in 2018, when I first decided I wanted to try out piano, I went to a big box store and I bought the cheapest Casio that they had. I went home and the first thing I tried for learning piano actually was the Simply Piano app. But back then, Simply Piano didn't have this new Chords Path option. They only had what they call the Soloist Path, which is the more traditional sight reading approach. While I did think that the way that the app worked was pretty cool, I found the traditional sight reading approach to be kind of a little bit frustrating and time consuming, and I just didn't get very far with it. And when I discovered online courses that teach using chords instead, I went that route and I never looked back. Well, I've had so many subscribers that have asked me to review Simply Piano that I thought I'd take a try at it, even though I wasn't looking forward to having to sight read. But when I took a look at the newer version of the app, and I was really surprised to see this newly added chords path. As soon as I saw that, I knew I was going to dive in and check it out. So now Simply Piano allows you to test drive the app for free for a week or so. So I waited until I had a reasonably free schedule that I could dive right into it and get as much of it done as I could. I'd actually managed to complete almost all of the chords path in a few days. So now I can give you my thoughts in this review. So let's check out the chords path in Simply Piano. Okay, so before I get into the app itself, if you're a total beginner, you might be wondering, what am I talking about when I say you can learn piano by learning to sight read sheet music or by using a chord-based approach that doesn't require sight reading? Well, I could talk for days about this, but just to try and sum it up quickly, here's a piece of sheet music. As you can see, there's a lot going on there. To play something like this, you need to know exactly where every note that you see is on the piano, and you need to be able to recognize exactly when to play each note, how long to play each note, and how much time to pause in between and all the notes that are on the sheet music. And when you see multiple notes on top of each other, you need to be able to recognize and then play all of those notes at the same time. So yes, sight reading is a challenging and a time-consuming skill to learn. Now, in contrast, if you're playing with a chord-based approach, you're going to be playing off a chord chart or a lead sheet that shows you the chords you need to play by name. Now, these two things are usually a little bit different. A chord chart is intended to accompany a vocalist and will usually only indicate the chord names you need to play, and that includes the lyrics. A lead sheet is similar in that it will include the names of the chords that you need to play, but a lead sheet will also include sheet music notation for the melody. So that is intended for when you are not accompanying a singer and you're playing the melody in your right hand and then you're playing the chords in your left. With either one of those, you only need to look at the chord name that's indicated by a letter or letters and possibly a number in there as well. And that tells you exactly what chord and what keys to play. So just as an example, I've been playing for about 7 years and I can't read sheet music. If you showed me this, I would have absolutely no clue that this is just a C7 chord. So from the sheet music, I would have no idea whatsoever what to play on the piano. But if you just showed me the letter C followed by the number 7, I immediately know that that's a C7 chord, and it takes me 1 second to play it because I know how. A great example of how easy it can be to play music with chords is think of somebody playing an acoustic guitar taking requests, whether it's at a party, around the campfire, maybe a performer busking or playing at a cafe. Somebody requests a song. The guitarist, back in my day, would look in a big book. Nowadays, they look up something on their cell phone or their tablet, and within a few seconds, they're happily playing the song and singing. Well, that person, I can pretty much guarantee you, did not look up sheet music for the song and then is immediately able to sight read it. They looked up a chord chart and the lyrics for the song, which allows them to pretty much start playing the song right away. You can approach playing piano exactly the same way, just using chords. Okay, so how does the Simply Piano app work? Well, it works on iOS or Android devices. It will not work on a computer. I would actually highly recommend an iPad or a tablet, though, for the bigger screen. So you download the app. There's going to be a link in the description below for you to do that. You create an account. You'll get asked some questions about your prior experience, goals, etc. Just an FYI, in this video, I'm demoing Simply Piano on my ancient iPad. Okay, so just for a quick look around the user interface, the main screen has the courses, which after some common initial lessons, split into this soloist and chords track that I've been talking about, and then the lessons continue within each of those. And as I scroll to the right, you can see occasionally you're going to have some more common lessons along the way. Now, even though the chords track doesn't require you to become proficient at sight reading, before you even start the chord track, you are going to get some basic intro into music notation and stuff, and that's fine. It's not too intense or anything. But then one of the first common lesson is actually marked optional, so you don't have to do it. You actually can skip that one, but don't skip that one. This is the Theory 101 course. Make sure you do that. This course will give you some more sight reading basics, but it also contains some very important lessons that will really help you down the road on the chords track, specifically on how major and minor chords are constructed. So don't skip that course. And to be honest, with Simply Piano, it wouldn't be a bad idea, even if you are on the chords track, if every once in a while you just did the odd lesson in the soloist track, just to get some, basic sight reading ability up, even if you just completed Essentials 2 or something, just so that you've got a little bit of experience with it, because that is going to help you in the chords track later on in the course once they start actually wanting you to sight read just a little bit. Okay, so we'll get back to the actual course material in a minute, but just to quickly go over the rest of the user interface, if I go up to the menu here at the top, you can do stuff like edit your profile, do a 5-minute workout, which is like little quick tests and stuff. My apps is just going to take you to if you've got Simply Guitar or Simply Sing as well, so other apps from them. Sheet music, this is a little bit strange. Now, Simply Piano does have a ton of songs built into the app that you can play along with using the app's interface, but that's not what this is. This is basically just a really small collection of some basic printable PDFs, things like When the Saints Come Marching In and Happy Birthday and stuff like that. So, to be honest, given how cool the playing interface is on Simply Piano, I'm not even really sure why this is here, but it's there if you want it. And if I go back out here and go back up to this menu, there's going to be help and support. Community is just going to take you to the Facebook Simply Piano community if you want to join that. Then in settings, you can change various settings in here. The most important one is going to be the MIDI settings. So if you if you have a keyboard that has Bluetooth MIDI, then you can pair it in this spot here. To be honest, I would highly recommend with a digital piano or keyboard using a cable anyway, because you're going to get the best note recognition and zero lag when you do that. So now back to the main screen again, you can see there's links for songs and play. Those are the spots where the actual really cool, massive banks of songs are that you can play along with. I'm actually going to demo those a bit later though, so I'm not going to show those here. So now let's take a look at the actual interface for learning. I'm just going to go to the very first lesson in the chords track, which is Pop Chords 1. Now, when I go in here, there's also there's all these kind of sub lessons, and each one of these can have sub lessons, that type of thing. So there's a lot of stuff just even in this one little Pop Chords 1 course. Now, they're all available to me right now, which is indicated by those yellow circles, but that's because I've done them already. If you haven't done these already, then you actually have to go in order. That's actually one of the criticisms some people have about Simply Piano is you can't jump ahead. To be honest, there's probably pros and cons as far as that goes. Preventing people from jumping ahead does prevent impatient beginners from jumping too far ahead because they don't want to put in the necessary work, and then they just end up getting frustrated. But if you do have some piano experience, it does also prevent you from skipping lessons that you don't necessarily need. For example, when I was going through this Simply Piano app, I was trying to get this done as quickly as I could. I had to actually do every single lesson to move along. I wasn't able to just skip ahead. Now, a lot of the lessons will actually also incorporate videos, so like little intro videos. So I'm just going to play one here.
In this course, Simply Piano will give you instant feedback as you play many notes together. If you're using a MIDI or USB supporting keyboard, you could easily connect your keyboard to your device using a standard cable and an adapter. This will allow an even better recognition experience. Just plug and play. Have fun.
So as that video mentioned, Simply Piano is going to recognize what notes you play on the piano or keyboard, and you can do this by using your device's built-in mic, so the built-in mic on the iPad or the phone or tablet or whatever. So that's your only option with a real piano, but it does actually work quite well. I did test that out, not connecting my keyboard to the iPad and then just using the speakers, and it detects it just fine. There's a tiny bit of lag, but it does work. But if you do have a digital piano or a digital keyboard, I definitely recommend that you connect using your MIDI cable and any adapter you need. Like, for example, for my iPad, I need a lightning adapter because you're going to get zero lag and the note recognition is going to be perfect. So after that intro, you're going to start learning your first couple of chords. So the first one's going to be C major. I'm just going to play the video there.
The first chord we will start with is the C major chord. Place your right hand thumb on middle C and play the notes C, E, and G with your thumb, middle finger, and pinky. This is how the C major chord looks on the staff. Notice that the C major chord is also marked with the letter C. Keep this in mind. It will make it easy to identify the chord.
Then you're going to get some static exercises that basically train you and build you up to being able to play this first chord. I didn't do that fast enough because I was talking, so. And if I get something wrong, you're going to see it shows me down here on the keyboard in gray the notes that I'm playing, but those aren't the notes I'm supposed to be playing. I'm supposed to be playing these yellow ones. Then after the static ones, I'm going to get some music of some sort, and then I have to play in time now. And if I play something wrong, it's red instead of blue. And if I miss too many things in a row, it's going to stop and then kind of pick it up someplace for me to restart and keep going until I get it all right. And so on, and then that will eventually finish, and then you can move on. Now, I have heard some criticism that Simply Piano always uses some type of backing track or drum beat to keep time and never uses a traditional metronome. Well, in my opinion, that's actually a good thing, especially for learning modern music. I personally never practice with a metronome, and I always use some type of drum beat, even for practicing scales. And that's not only because I think drums are fun to play along with and metronomes are boring, but in my opinion, drums are actually better for learning. They still keep you in time, just like a metronome, which is, of course, super important. But actual drums add a realistic feel to a song, and that is something that will affect how you play, especially down the road. So in my mind, it's a good thing to start getting familiar with playing along with drums early on. So then as I complete these kind of early mini lessons, you're going to get the songs in here that you can practice. It's basically little bits of songs. So just a little snippet of a song to kind of reinforce what you've just learned, and it's also fun to play along with stuff. Then as you continue to work through these courses, you're going to see songs where they actually have a bunch of lessons, or multiple lessons anyway, involved in teaching you that song. And those are the ones where you see the artist and it's kind of highlighted. So I can go in here and do training lessons. So these would be static lessons to help me learn how to play that song. And then Once I'm ready, I can actually go ahead and play along with the actual song.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you.
Then once I complete that, then what's going to happen? Any of these songs that look like this, then there's going to be this little icon with the stars in it. It's going to pop up when I do this the first time, and it's going to say you've now mastered these skills that you've learned so far. So 2, 3, 4 new songs have been unlocked. So that's going to be if I go into there, these are the new songs that got unlocked when I completed that last lesson. Now, I would highly recommend that you don't rush through Simply Piano. When you get to one of these spots, instead of just moving forward in the app, take a break, have some fun, and really hammer home the new skills you've learned by working on all of these songs. I mean, learning how to play songs is kind of the whole point, right? So when I go into one of those, you can go into the training sessions like you have in the course where they gradually work you up into trying to be able to learn how to play the song, or you can just jump into playing the entire song.
You're insecure, don't know what for. You're turning heads when you walk through.
So once again, would highly recommend that as you work through Simply Piano, when you unlock new songs, go do all of them. Even if you don't really like the song style or something, it's still good to hammer home the skills that you've learned and have fun doing it. So by the end of Pop Chords 1, you can see there's multiple stages where you've got another song to work on and unlock more songs, etc. When you get to the end of it, this little 4 chords medley, there's tons and tons of songs in rock and pop history have used the exact same chord progression. You might have heard the 4 chords song referred to before. And this is basically an example of that. So I'm just going to play a little quick bit of this medley here. So these are the chords that you're going to be doing. Might already sound familiar. I'm going to skip ahead to the actual medley. Okay, so see if you recognize some of these songs.
What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out. You got my head spinning, no kidding, I can't pin you down. Do you know what's worth fighting for? When it's not worth dying for.
In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie.
And then that just continues on, but there's countless songs that use that exact chord progression. So when you learn piano with sheet music, you're basically sight reading, playing back, or regurgitating the exact notes that were transcribed. So we'll always sound exactly the same. Now that's great for classical music, but for pop, rock, country, blues, etc., that's where the chord-based approach is actually more appropriate in my opinion. A lot of players like Elton John, Billy Joel, and even the Beatles aren't going to play a song exactly the same every time. They may have some signature licks, which are basically distinctive solos or parts that stand out and are easily recognizable that will be the same every time. But for the most part, they're just going to follow the chords and quite likely improvise and play it a little bit different every time. So you might wonder as a beginner, if you're not just regurgitating the sheet music and basically kind of doing what you're told, how do you know what to play? Well, this is where improvising and rhythm patterns come into the conversation. Instead of just playing a chord and not knowing what to do to kind of fill it in when you're not reading sheet music, you might do things like this. You might alternate parts of the chord with each other. I imagine you might find that a little bit familiar. And you can also start varying the rhythm in your left hand to more closely match the beat and genre of a song. For example, if it was a country song, you might play a left-hand rhythm like this. Or if it was a rock song, you might, with kind of a driving beat, you might play it more like this. So then when you see a chord, you're basically going to be able to switch between different types of those left and right-hand modifications as you see fit. And that is improvisation and rhythm patterns, and that is what Simply Piano calls chord styling. I was super glad to see Simply Piano dive into these topics nice and early. So if I go into the chord styling, and I'm Just going to scroll to the front here. So that rocking back and forth thing that I was just demonstrating is chords styling number 1 that they're going to teach you. And then, of course, they use Imagine as a demo for that. And a couple of more songs. And then here's the second chord styling that they're going to teach you.
Listen to the background music. You're now going to play in this new style. First, have your right hand play steady beats with the chord. Then, have your left hand join every other beat. Then, add this little note in between with your left hand. Your left hand here is actually joining the bass drum, which makes it sound pretty cool. This may feel tricky at first, but you'll quickly get it, don't worry.
So that rhythm pattern that was just shown to you is a very common and basic rhythm pattern used in tons of rock songs. And as he mentioned, you notice how it matches the feel of the song. It's matching the drums. It's matching that beat. And if you might remember from the example I just showed you, that's the identical rhythm pattern that I learned in all of my chord-based online piano courses. So as you progress through the chords path, you're going to continue to learn more and more chords, and then more and more chord stylings. So different ways to modify both your left-hand rhythm pattern and kind of your improvisation that you're playing in the right. So as opposed to just pounding on a chord, doing something a little bit different. And as I mentioned, those modifications are often tied to the style or the genre of a song, or you might play something different for a ballad versus a high-energy song, that type of thing. So you're going to learn a whole bunch of different examples of those in these courses. Then we come to the lessons on blues and jazz. I was super excited to see those. Now, these courses are very basic, which they should be. This is a beginner's program. But they do a really good job of giving a novice player a very basic and easy to follow intro into playing these two musical styles. In the blues course, you're going to learn the 12-bar blues chord progression, which is used in countless blues and lots of rock songs. And one of the most important things you're going to learn in the blues section is what a swing beat or swing feel is. And that topic is actually a perfect example of why I think playing along with drums is far better for learning than playing along with a metronome. And Simply Piano does a really good job of teaching us this in a way that's easy for beginners to kind of pick up, because it can be a bit challenging. And Simply Piano does this with what they call listen and repeat right hand. So basically what they're going to do is once the music starts playing, just to help you really nail in the rhythm, they're going to play it for you first, and then you get to play it back, and then you're going to kind of bounce back and forth. So it'll really hammer that home, and it's really easy to pick up that way. So that's a great way to introduce somebody to playing with a kind of an offbeat swing rhythm. And as you start to pick up those kinds of skills, then you can start to play stuff like this. Now remember here, I'm not sight reading those notes. I'm just reading those chord symbols. I am looking at the types of notes that are on there to kind of give me a clue as to what the rhythm is, but I'm not really actually counting that the way that a sight reader would. I'm just recognizing it from the lessons that I did, and then I recognize, oh yeah, that's that certain rhythm with a swing feel. So then when you're done with the blues course, you get to go into the jazz course. There's actually 2 jazz courses, and then you're going to learn some common jazz chords and some jazz progressions like the 2-5-1. Then once we're done with the jazz courses, the 2 final courses in the chords track are on a couple of really important and great to see topics, slash chords and arpeggios. But most importantly, in my opinion, is that between these two subcourses, you also finally get taught a bit about chord inversions, which is something I was kind of wondering about at the beginning of this course. Now, I don't want to get bogged down in music theory, but I do have some maybe constructive criticism to offer here, but I'm going to go into all of that in a little bit more detail in my verdict and wrap up on Simply Piano at the end of this review. And then the chords track finishes after your arpeggio lessons with a kind of a very in-depth deep dive into Someone Like You by Adele. So it's a lot more detailed than a lot of the other songs you'll have learned. So that's actually a great way to finish the course off. Now let's take a look at these songs and play song bank sections that are built into the app for you to play along with songs. I'm going to go over the play option here. Heads up, this one does not include chord symbols, so sight reading is required. Okay, so in the play option, there are tons of songs in here, and there's browse and search things down here. You can browse and filter by skill level, like what lessons you've completed, so you only get songs that you're going to be able to play. You can search by song name, by artist, and then you can save things to your own library as well if you want. So I'm just going to click on Imagine up here. Now you can see there's 3 different versions I can choose from, Essentials, Intermediate, and Pre-Advanced. So once again, if I was browsing, I could have filtered, I only want to see Essentials, or I only want to see advanced stuff, or whatever. Let's go into the Essentials one first. Now I haven't checked all of these, but the ones that I have checked do appear to be similar to lead sheets in that they include the notation of the melody in the top line and then chords in the bottom line. But do notice the difference between this and an actual lead sheet is the chord names aren't displayed, which is kind of a shame because then people that are just learning the chords track would have a bit of a better use for this. As you can see, this is the melody for Imagine up on the top line. So for example, you can see it's filling in the notes as I go along. Now, if I wanted to actually play this, because this is just static, it's just allowing me to kind of work my way through the sheet, I could go to play, and then it's going to ask me if I want to learn or do the verse, the chorus, the second chorus, the ending, or the full song. So if I just go into full song here, then we're going to be back at the normal interface that you're a little more used to. There's no backing music here, though. It's just your metronome. It starts at 60%. I'm going to go up to 100. And once again, no chord names, so you do have to sight read. I'm just going to play the right hand. And so on. Now, if I something else to mention here, I did just quickly talk about that. You can choose within the app, whenever you're on one of these playing screens, between 60, 80, and 100% for tempo. You can also turn tempo off, which is basically just a static practice mode. So you're going to have to manually scroll and that type of thing. And you can also press listen, and it'll play it for you. Basically, whatever you see on the screen. It's not going to scroll. It's just going to play whatever you see on the screen at the time. So if I exit out of here, let's go into the advanced version. Now, right off the bat, you can see there's a lot more going on here. This is actually kind of an interesting combination of they'll use the top line for the melody like they do on a lead sheet if there's singing going on. If there isn't singing, they might throw in some of the accompaniment here. So just to show you what I mean. Those little notes up there, that's not singing. That's just that little signature line. And then it continues. Now, something else that you can do within this interface is teach me. So if I hit teach me, I can say, teach me the intro. Then you're going to be back in this interface, but then this is going to be basically like the training modules that are in the actual course, where it's going to train you on how to play little bits of it, and then it'll eventually have you play along, that type of thing. So that's pretty cool. And once again, there are tons of songs in here and lots of different skill levels and stuff. So this is a really cool feature, but like I said, you do have to learn how to sight read to really take full advantage of that. But rest easy chord players, let's check out the songs option because that one's for you. I go into songs. You can see they're filtered by kind of like by the associated lessons within both the soloist and the chords courses. So if I click on Essentials up here, I go into any of these songs and I go into play it, I'm not going to get the chord symbols because this is tied to the soloist track. So you're not seeing any chords up here. So you'd have to sight read. But if I choose any of these up at the top that are pop chords or chord styling or the blues or jazz chords or whatever, then any of those, I am going to get the chord symbols indicated while I play. So you can see the C up there. And with these, as you can already tell, you also always get the backing track. Now I can also search. I'm just going to type in, actually I already did, typed in Rocket Man. Now you can see I've got 4 different options here. Now these 2, Essentials and Intermediate, those are tied to the soloist course. So if I go into those, it's going to be sight reading. If I go into the Pop Chords 2 version, and this interface is exactly the same as the interface you get on the songs during the different lessons in the course, where you can go through and do training, static training first, or little bits and pieces of the song first, or you can just go in and play the full song. So here I'm playing the chords in the right hand.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight.
Oops, missed that, but anyway. So that's super cool. But then there was also this one that said lead sheet. So if I go into this one, same thing, I can do my training and stuff. With this, I'm going to be playing the chords in my left, so it's going to be at the bottom here. I'm still going to get my chord names because this is the chords track, but I'm going to get a kind of a simplified version of the melody for the right hand, so this is a lead sheet. So even though there's somebody singing, I'm still getting these. So you would have to sight read the melody if you wanted to play it, but if you're in the lead sheet, that is what you're going to want to be doing, and you're playing chords with your left hand instead of your right, but you do still get the chord symbols. So between the play and the songs banks, there are tons of songs in there for you to play along with, and both offer some really helpful training features, so super cool. So the verdict. What's my verdict on Simply Piano's Chords Path? For a beginner who is looking for an app to get started learning how to play modern songs on the piano, I think it's awesome and totally recommend it. The lessons move at a comfortable pace, and I really like the video game style interface for 2 reasons. 1, it's kind of fun, which means it's more likely to keep new players engaged and not giving up. But 2, because the app gives you instant feedback on whether you're playing something correctly or not. Now, while there is more sight reading required in the Chords Path than I would have hoped, for the most part, it's pretty minimal, and even though you don't have to know how to sight read to play piano, having even a basic level of sight reading is going to be a good skill for you to have built up, so not the end of the world. To sum it up, Simply Piano actually does hit all the bases for a beginner to learn how to play using a chords-based approach. You learn quite a few common chords as well as some slash chords. You learn different right-hand accompaniment options like toggling or arpeggios, which the app calls chord stylings, and left-hand rhythm patterns, both of which can really spice up your play, making it more interesting and appropriate for different styles and genres of songs, so you're not just repetitively pounding on chords. You get a minimal, but I do wish it was bigger, more on that in a minute, intro on how chords are constructed in the theory course. And the fact that the app includes so many built-in songs with really good training and help with learning them and playing them back, with and without backing tracks, is awesome, especially since all the songs that are tied to the Chords Path do include chord names as well as the notation. So are there any ways that I think Simply Piano's Chords Path could be improved? There's definitely a change I would suggest. So just in case you're a beginner, here's a super fast bit of music theory, just so you know what I'm talking about. A chord is a group of notes that sound good together, and chords are kind of like the building blocks of how modern songs are constructed. Simple chords are called triads and are made up of 3 notes. Now you can play those 3 notes in any order, anywhere on the piano, and it's still the same chord. But in any course I've taken before, simple triad chords are always first taught to beginners in what we call their root position, where the leftmost note is also the name of the chord. For example, this is a C note, and this is a C major chord. So you can see the leftmost note is the C. Now this is an F note, and this is an F major chord, where the leftmost note is the F. Now, if you saw my finger placement for both of those, you're going to notice that they looked pretty similar, and that's because the relative positions between these notes, which are called intervals, follow a certain pattern for different types of chords. Now, what Simply Piano chose to do instead is it teaches some chords in their root position, like that C major, they teach it in their root position. But instead of teaching F major in the root position, which is that, they teach F major in what is called a chord inversion. So it's basically when you've got the notes in a different order than they are in the root position. So instead of playing it like this, it's like this. Same three notes, different order. Now, this isn't a huge issue or problem or anything, and the app does talk about inversions and chord construction later on in the course. I personally would have preferred it if those lessons had been at the start of the chords path instead, and that all chords were first taught in their root positions, because I think that really helps beginners understand how to figure out chords a little bit better. But as I said, this is not the end of the world. I just would have preferred it this way. And while part of me wants to recommend that Simply Piano completely removes any sight reading needs from the chords path, like I said, it is minimal, and even though it's not a skill I have or intend on learning, some basic sight reading is still definitely a good skill to pick up. Now, as far as pricing goes, prices will fluctuate over time and also depend on your location. At the time of this video, there were 3, 6, and 12-month subscription options available to me. And as you would expect, the cheapest cost per month comes with the longest subscription. So for example, at the time of this review, I could sign up on a yearly basis for about $150 per year. So how long does it take to complete the program? Simply recommends, I believe, 2 years to complete the entire program. So that includes both the soloist and the chords paths. Now, it will, of course, depend on how much time you put in, how fast you progress, what your prior background is, if any. But in my opinion, I don't see why a total beginner couldn't complete the chords path by itself within a year with some reasonably consistent practicing. And where will your piano skills be if you start as a complete beginner and work through the chords path? Learning songs along the way as well, and really working on your skills. You'll have a pretty solid foundation of chords, basic improv and rhythm patterns, and styles of playing along with different song types and genres. You'll be able to play along with the songs in Simply Piano songs section that are tied to the chords path, and you'll be well on your way to being able to look up chord charts online for other songs you want to play and start experimenting with playing along with those outside of Simply Piano using the techniques that you've learned. And once you're at that level, I would highly recommend that you continue learning using some of the online courses that I've recommended on my channel. Or maybe by then, Simply Piano will have added some more material to the chords track and you can just keep going. So that's pretty much it for my review on Simply Piano's chords track. If you found the content useful, please feel free to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. That does really help me out. I've left a link in the description below for you to get started with Simply Piano. Remember, you can sign up for a free trial to just check the app out for yourself, so I highly recommend doing that. So thanks again for stopping by, and happy piano training. Have an awesome day.